All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. This is for November 28th, 2020, the final one of the month of November already. And it's so crazy how fast time is just flying by. But anyways, I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound, as always. Bringing this market report to you every week has been a lot of fun since its inception. I would say I've probably been doing this pretty close to about a year now, maybe a little bit less than that. But the importance to this report to a lot of folks who just like to go out there, coin roll hunt, or maybe cherry pick at a local coin show or shop couldn't be any more important in today's landscape. Nobody really wants to send coins off to grading if they know it's going to come back, as a minor type of error or variety. It just wouldn't make sense to spend all that money to do that sort of thing. So that's why I do this report, is to illustrate to a lot of you what's selling on the secondary market on eBay. Stuff that typically we would just find and either add to our collection or perhaps go out there and list it and, see what happens. Surprisingly, a lot of coins with as quick and active as the market is today, have been selling for a pretty good, decent amount of money. And if you strung together, like 10, 15 listings, and they all sell $5 to $20, I mean, we could all see just the potential that exists for these finds. Okay, so we're going to look at varieties and errors in both coins and currency. All the images provided on this report is raw. Okay, there's no juiced up photos. I'm not doing anything special other than cropping and mating the reverse and obverse pictures together, along with any sort of close-up images of the diagnostic features for each coin. There's a few things I also want to talk about. There's been quite a huge emphasis on a few errors that I will not be talking about in this video. There have been, in the last 24 to 36 hours, an influx of these type of errors that are selling pretty well, but it would just be redundant to continuously post up each one of these, and that's going to be off-center struck error coins. There's a lot of modern era, I would say 2000s, late 90s, off-center struck coins that are still doing pretty well on the secondary market, and that's with either a full date or no date at all. We've seen the market value kind of fluctuate between like that, $7, $8 level for a no date version to as high as $20, $25 for a really nice full date off-center error. Okay, another one too that a lot of people like collecting, and just through discussions, in the community about this type of error, and that's going to be the 1999 Philadelphia Delaware State Quarter with the spitting horse. Okay, but in reality, the coin simply exhibits either an early, mid, or later die state crack that goes right into the letters there. Always popular. These are coins that sell for between $5 and $15, depending on grade and just how strong that crack is coming out of the horse's mouth. Again, the later die states, much more appealing to a lot of people that actually do collect these by die state. So those are two very common errors that have been popping up a lot here as of late, and they still hold a pretty decent secondary market. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in to the first eBay listing on here. And I wanted to start out with this 1970D Roosevelt dime. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this one up again, this is actually another recorded sale from the last day or so. But someone had mentioned that, the diagnostics of the doubled die reverse that exists for this particular coin looks pretty similar to machine doubling. Okay, so what I did was I revisited this, brought it back for you guys to take a look at. These have been located in mint sets. So you could go through mint sets and you might be lucky enough to find one of these. They're quite plentiful, but they are a really nice variety. So on the reverse of the coin, you're going to have really nice hub doubling on all of the peripheral letters on the reverse, United States of America. All right, so it's pretty easy to see just the overall splitting of the devices. You're not seeing any overall shrinkage of the actual size of these letters. Whereas on machine doubled coins, I mean, you definitely do have the step-like features of the machine doubling, okay, but it's going to be flatter to the surface. In addition, you're going to see the overall devices shrink on each one of those letters, all right, whereas on a true doubled die, you don't see the shrinkage at all. As a matter of fact, the letters are fatter as a result. In addition, there are some notching areas, like on this E right here, you can see the notching, which is quite distinguishable. Same with the R and the I here in America. Pretty strong. But I would say the best picture that I could present to you to help illustrate this even further is just the shallow splits of the doubling and the secondary set of strike, from the working dies, in addition to the split here on the top of the flame. Okay, whereas normally you won't see that on a machine doubled coin. All right, I want to stress that because there are a few people that said, well, machine doubling can have split serifs or notching. I'm like, no, not necessarily. You won't get that. It might have the appearance, but you won't have things like this on the top of the flame, where you could actually see two flame tips and not one that's been smushed over because of MD. So this one right here is sold for $13.80. I wanted to let you guys know people have been cherry picking these for years out of mint sets. And a very affordable one at that, even though it does have the 40% silver Kennedy. Okay, so for those of you that just love going through kind of like bargain basement type of material, there's no better, resource than bulk Indian head cents. Okay, you could go to a coin shop. Normally they would have these just sitting on the counter or in a case, for like 50 cents. Okay, if you needed to, collect a date for an album or whatever, these are a great resource. And generally you could find some pretty nice problem-free coins from the 1900s or 1890s. However, another area of opportunity for these coins are going to be searching for errors. Okay, two that come to mind. The one that you see here, check out the reverse. It's got a huge either lamination or strike through. More than likely, this is a lamination that had came off at one point and is recirculated to give it the nice kind of like smooth, bumpy look to it. Another thing to find in these are cuts, die breaks. They exist quite frequently. If you're able to find some 1880s Indian head cents, which, by the way, when they're well worn without Liberty showing on the headdress, they are very affordable. Again, we're looking at 50 cents to $1. So you buy a coin like that, you were able to identify some sort of strike-through lamination or cut die break on any of those coins. Congratulations. You have something that is worth something, not only to yourself, but if you wanted to turn around and flip it and make a few extra bucks, you could do so. This coin right here, for example, sold for $21.75. Again, not a high-grade coin. You do even have a little bit of the corrosion issues with this verdigris on the obverse. But all in all, it's a very strong example of this type of error. The next one that we have here is the Canadian penny. It's a 1983. They were still making copper at this point. As a matter of fact, the Royal Canadian Mint was making copper pennies all the way up to 1996. All right, so it is definitely a longer duration of that type of composition. Now, take a look at the coin. The coin in itself has a lot of condition issues. You got more of this corrosive on the front and back of the coin. But what really stands out is going to be this brockage, or this brockage that you see here. It's indented and it's off center. It's a partial brockage, but in any event, you don't see anything on the reverse, which is normal. Okay, this one right here is a truly nice, error in spite of its issues. This one sold for $49.05. Keep in mind, the Canadian market for errors is pretty good. There are a number of very dedicated Canadian error collectors that pay up quite a bit more for these type of coins compared to its U.S. counterparts. So keep that in mind. So the featured coin for this week, okay, you guys saw the thumbnail picture as you clicked into the video, but this 1982 circulation strike or business strike Roosevelt dime is definitely one to look for. I have talked about this coin quite often, okay? So this one right here is a 1982 Philadelphia Roosevelt dime. Now keep in mind, okay, for those of you that aren't aware, these dimes are supposed to have a physical P mint mark. However, this one does not. Okay, this one is referred to as the 1982 no P Roosevelt dime. There are a few Roosevelt dimes within the series. Most of them and all of them usually are in the proof series where there's an omission of the mint mark. Okay, this is the only date in which you can find the no mint mark for a business strike coin. Keep in mind, business strike means this is a coin that is intended for circulation that you can find in rolls. Alright, so when you do find a 1982 with the missing mint mark, congratulations. This is a coin that's worth quite a bit of money on the secondary market. The coin is obviously well circulated. Okay, it's probably maybe a VF, maybe an XF on its best of days. This coin right here sold for $199.95. Let's call it like it is, $200 for just a coin pulled out of change. Okay, that I'm sure, as of this example, has been passed over and over without anybody really knowing. Okay, it's a very honest thing to do because unless you were knee deep into the hobby of coins, you probably wouldn't know that this is a rare variety. Okay, so we have a really nice condition 2001 North Carolina quarter. Okay, this one's a Philadelphia struck example. It's about 5% off center as far as a strike. I mean, it's a very appealing coin because of its condition. This one right here sold for $21.74. Again, these are coins that come up, you know, infrequently in change and rolls. This one is still of size for it to fit into an actual bankroll, so keep that in mind. Okay, so the next couple coins here were sold by Coinman_2000. Okay, he's one of the guys that sells pretty regularly on the error coin market. Okay, this is a 1942 Lincoln wheat cent that exhibits a really gnarly reverse lamination. You know, it's just an even swath that goes right through the coin, but you could still see a lot of the underlying diagnostics of 1 cent, United States of America, and the motto, E pluribus unum. Or the motto, rather, just E pluribus unum. The motto is In God We Trust on the obverse. So, again, you have a pretty impure, you know, planchet previous to the strike. When this thing was struck, it, you know, probably had a little tab or something. Or that piece was kind of like sitting there just very loose. It fell out at one point. I don't think anyone really tore this sucker off because it's recirculated. The entire coin is an even shade of brown. This one right here sold for $46.27. I want to add that the best offer was accepted for this coin. Same with the 1941, this time with an obverse lamination. The coin in itself has condition issues. You know, it's been beat up. It's got a lot of rim nicks. There's a few nicks here on the obverse lapel coat area of Lincoln, and then on the reverse, you can see more of this this rim damage. You know, it looks like something that might have been a parking lot at one point. It got beat up and tossed around a little. But this lamination speaks for itself. This one right here sold for $28.47. Again, another best offer option was accepted. You guys can find out, if you could, how much this one actually sold for. Probably $15-20, but still a really nice, worthwhile find out there. All right, so we got 1995 $1 Federal Reserve note. It's new enough that it's worth a conversation. Now, this one is in pretty nice shape. This one, as you can see, has a funny printing anomaly right here on the front of the note. This is referred to as a partial back to front wet ink transfer, or an offset. You know, usually when these things are printed, they're on a 32 note sheet. So at the BEP, the notes are printed in rapid succession. So a fresh sheet would overlap onto another sheet, and the ink is still a little bit wet, so you get a little bit of that transfer. Really cool error. These are very desired on the secondary market. This particular example sold for $86.99. And the back is normal on this one. We don't see any transfer there. Alright, so more cherry picking going on here. So if you guys have access to bulk Buffalo nickels at a local coin shop or a show, this is definitely one to keep an eye out for because they are quite plentiful out there to be found. I've found my fair share of these to the point where I don't really look for them as much anymore. But this is a 1938 D over S, over mid-mark variety. This is a really strong one. You could see based off of the seller provided arrows on here where that underlying S is. You can see the top serif just peeking out at the top of the D right here. The coin in itself is in pretty nice shape. Yeah, you do have a few scrapes here. It looks like you have a little bit of a lamination crack that's going through here, which is normal for the issue. You know, you just have really bad annealing issues on these coins in general. The overall condition, you can see it has barely any horn here, so this is probably more along the line of a VG8 at its best. But this coin right here sold for $29.95. Again, keep an eye out. There are also a multitude of repunchment marks, some D over Ds, for this date that are also coveted on the variety market. Okay, well, this is a brand new quarter. It's a 2020 Philadelphia Marsh Billings Rockefeller. All right, so the crap show 2020 continues with just a horrible QC process of all the brand new quarters because there are none. Because of the so-called coin shortage, the U.S. Mint has ramped up production on all of its denominations, therefore bypassing the quality control process. The coin is in really nice shape. It's brand new. Upon closer examination, the big selling feature is this pretty cool die crack that goes right through the D from the rim into the bust of Washington. And then on the reverse, you also have a nice sizable die chip right in the hair, okay, which is probably the least thrilling part about the coin, but it's worth noting. Because when I tell you how much it sells for, you're probably going to want to keep an eye out for these. This one sold for $10.59, which is 40 times face. Pretty good. The next one that we have here is probably a note that a lot of people have come across in varying degrees. It's a 2017 brand spanking new. It's even got the the current Secretary of Treasury Stephen Mnuchin on there. But this one right here is a $1 Federal Reserve note. This one has what is referred to as a turn digit. All right, so the individual numbers are all on a wheel. Okay, so when a wheel gets stuck in a position, then it's going to be stuck a little bit offset either up or down. Sometimes it's going to get to a point where you can see the next digit on the wheel turned over, which is really cool. Those are the best, most desirable errors of this type to be found. However, this one right here is noticeable enough that this person picked it out of their change and then resold it. All right, with great success, might I add, because this one sold for $11.50. The turn is just enough to give it that extra appeal for someone that likes this sort of thing. Now, keep in mind, not all turn digit notes of this type sell for that kind of money. Condition plays a factor, among a few other things. So keep that in mind. There's a reverse of a note, nothing to note there. Okay, so we have a 1955D Lincoln wheat cent. This is another often found type of mini error. I like to call it a mini error, but these have been embraced in the error community for what it is. And then they're even attributed on Cuds on Coins, where it has its own section in there. So these are called BIE cents. They exist on a number of dates throughout the Lincoln cent series. This has a little die chip that, given the right type of shape and depending on die states, it actually resembles a letter I. Okay, so that's where it gets its namesake from. These are widely collected. People like to collect these by varying die states. This one right here sold for $13.50. Another minor-ish error right here, a 1946S Lincoln Wheat Cent. I'm willing to bet a lot of you have passed these up, and I have. I'll be honest. Back in my early days, I've thrown a lot of these back. 1946 with a little lamination or strike-through right here on the reverse. That nice little dart-looking thing. This one here is sold for $16.50. Oh, man, if I knew what these were worth, I'd probably not pass them up as much. And, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for these. They're worthwhile. And here's a close-up of the reverse and that lamination right there in the middle. Another Buffalo Nickel for you guys to hunt for. This one is actually a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. It's a 1936 S over S repunchment mark. And as you can see, this one is stunning. It's about as radical as you can get for an RPM. The secondary S is punched south of the primary on this one. I found a number of these, and it's worth it. Okay, to give you an idea, this one sold right here for $27.90. As a matter of fact, the same seller sold like 4 or 5 of them in the course of like 10 minutes from each other. And they all range from like 15 to 30 bucks. This one right here is also FS 501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide for those of you keeping score, but just a really cool find. Alright, so this is the only coin on the list where, because I like talking about clipped coins, but this is a 1972 Candy half dollar, in pretty good shape, might I add, with 2 rim clips. You can see that one right here, which is a lot bigger under the date, and then one here at the L in Liberty. And then on the opposite corresponding edge, you have the Blakesley effect flattened edge profile, which is what you want to see for legitimate clips. This one right here sold for $22.95, which is effectively 4 90% half dollars. So for those of you that are searching through half dollars, trying to make up the value and justification of buying these boxes of half dollars, make sure you look for stuff like this. All right, so here's just a simple 1999 P Roosevelt dime. That is broad struck. It's a little bit off center. This one right here is probably more so the size of a nickel than anything else. It's that pancaked out. This one right here is sold for $28.49. Okay, so here's kind of like the one, kind of like Beware Bulletin coin on the list. Now, this is a 1911 Lincoln Wheat Cent. It's got some pretty neat, interesting things going on here. This was, I believe, pitched as being double struck or stamped twice or something like that. I will tell you this now. This is a damaged coin. You can see some of the destruction and flattening of the devices on the back. So a couple of coins were pressed together. You can see that the devices are in incuse, whereas on a double struck coin they would be raised off the surface. Furthermore, everything is backwards. So if you were to spin this coin around where you can actually read some of that doubling on there, it's backwards. Whereas a legitimate double struck coin would be oriented correctly where you can read it from left to right. But this one right here, totally damaged coin. But between all that, it sold for $447. I'm smelling a chargeback here in the near future. Just beware of this. Try not to sell it. It's going to be more of a headache if you have to reverse the money back to your customer. Don't reinvent the wheel when it comes to stuff like this. This is purely something to deceive, and it shouldn't be the case. Okay, so this was sold from a seller with only a feedback of 2, but bravo, this is a hell of a find. It's a 2000p, Sacagawea dollar. It's probably one of those coins that people just don't really care about, because when it first came out, oh yeah, it's gold color. It was really neat, and people liked it for about a minute. But nobody really paid attention to the big variety that can be found here without even getting a close-up of the actual variety. This one is the Speared or Wounded Eagle. You can actually see the die gouge. It goes right through the eagle on the reverse. These are collected up and down, left and right, even in lower grades. This one, for whatever reason, is such a stunning high grade. Me personally, I would have purchased it and then sent it off to a TPG. All right, I'm sure it'll come back like a Mint State 65, and it'll be $1,000 coin. But I missed out. I would have jumped on this one, no doubt about it. This one right here sold for $348.90. I'm thinking that someone that did buy this will end up sending this to PCGS or NGC for a quick mad flip. Just a beautiful coin, and congrats to the seller. That's a nice rip. All right, what's my favorite deal? Bicentennial coinage with errors. Okay, this one right here is a slightly broad struck example. It's a little bit off center, but you have a full rim still. Okay, which means it is a broad strike and not an off center struck coin. South Park Coins sells quite a few of nice errors, so I would check them out. This one right here is sold for $38.96. And because I love you guys so much, okay, we got one coin on the list for you. I did 30 coins last week, so this week we did 20. All right, kind of balance it out a little bit. We have a 1999 P Jefferson Nickel that is double struck. The double strike on the reverse. Sorry about that. Yeah, I got to turn my virus protection on. It's been on for a while. But I still get the notifications. But anyways, what we have here is a uniface. Okay, so this secondary strike that has nothing on the back. All of the goods are right here on the obverse, where you can actually see double Jeffersons. You can even see another P mint mark, all right, which is special in itself. These coins, again, very, very, very valuable. The likelihood that you'll find one of these and change, probably not so well. This one's sold for $152.50. Such a nice coin for not being graded. All right, so yeah, pretty crazy. The big opportunity that I see is a lot of people are buying these raw coins at the lowest of their market value and then turning around and sending them to the graders and then, reselling them for, probably 2 to 3 times what they paid for it, which is all fair. Okay, the opportunity is there for someone that wants to do that sort of thing. But anyways, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for today on your Saturday. I hope you guys find something pretty good out in your change. Would love to hear your guys' success stories with your roll hunts and your coin show cherry picks and all the great stuff out there. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again for watching. Always appreciate the loads of support. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for instant notifications. Come check us out Monday on our live stream Q&A. It's called Live Coin Q&A. It's its own channel. Make sure you go there and subscribe. We are there Monday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern for a couple of hours. If you got your coin questions, we'd love to hear about them. You can send your email at info@livecoinqa.com. Again, I'm Sean. You guys take care. Happy hunting. And Coinaholics, we are discovering together.